All right, for the jury.
Does anybody get that Mexican accent? You're waiting for me to take it. So, who's our next witness?
Donald VanCallis.
Sir, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
Okay, your last name is spelled V-A-N-C-A-L-L-I-S.
That is correct.
Okay, have a seat and speak loud.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
Sir, to begin with, can you tell us who your siblings are?
My siblings are James VanCallis, Barbara Rhodes, Sandra Cleveland, and that's it.
Okay. And James VanCallis, your brother, is the defendant in this case?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall, and I'm just going to take you back to July of 2014, and I know we're going back in time here. You've talked to the police prior to coming to court on a few occasions, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And specifically, do you recall being asked some questions about what happened the day of the homicide where April Millsap was found killed on the trail? Do you recall being asked questions about some of what happened that day?
Yes.
Okay. The first time the police came to talk to you, from just thinking back now without me prompting you, do you remember when that was?
To tell you the truth, I'm not really sure.
Okay. If I told you that the murder happened on a Thursday, the 24th, the 25th being a Friday, the 26th being a Saturday, does that help at all?
Yeah.
Does the 26th sound like the date now that you have those kind of
Yes.
dates lined up?
Yeah.
Okay. On the day, and by the way, you live just outside Armada, the village actually itself, is that right?
Yes.
And I'm going to show you here, you already have your sort of an area of where your home is. I'm going to show this to you. I don't need you to step down right now, but if I showed you this map right here, and I kind of indicated that this has been described as where your home is.
Yeah, because there's the S curve. Yes.
That looks about right?
Yes.
And that's that green dot that says Donald's home?
Correct.
Okay. And that's where your home was back in July of 2014. I don't need your address, but that's where it was.
Yes.
Okay. When the police came to talk to you on the 26th, did you know that they were coming to talk to you?
I did know because I was told by my family.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
sorry.
Here's what I've told a lot of other witnesses this, and this works for a lot. That
I
does
could
amplify your
probably
voice.
scoot forward
I
a
just
little.
want this gentleman right in the back. He's like the farthest away from you.
Okay.
If he can hear you, he can hear you.
All right.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
So you indicated that you were informed by your family that the police may be coming to speak to you.
Yes.
Do you recall if the family member who actually let you know was your brother?
I don't really remember who mentioned it. I mean, it could have been my brother, yes.
Okay. And if your phone showed some phone calls to your brother that morning, the morning of the 26th, from yourself at like 8:30 in the morning, 8:40 in the morning, 8:50 in the morning, from you to your brother, would that sound like you had phone contact with him that morning? Does that help jog your memory at all?
I could say yeah. I couldn't say that if I actually did or not. I mean, this is going back quite a while.
I understand. We're going back some time now. it wouldn't be unusual for you to call your brother. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
And your brother, by the way, your brother was in your phone. We've had some other, this trial's been going on for a number of days now. How was your brother in your phone contact book?
As Amy Parks.
All right. And this is something we've spoken about before, correct? About Amy Parks and how, do you recall answering some questions about?
We spoke?
Yes. If you don't remember that, regardless, just tell the jury how he came to be Amy Parks in your phone.
Well, it's actually pretty simple.
Okay, well.
If you look at A in your phone, I switched my phone from a BlackBerry to an Android, so I wasn't able to transfer any of my numbers. So basically, I was going through my phone, typing numbers in, and when I went to go program his number, since it's at the top of the list, I went to create new contact, and when I put new contact, that was the number that was right below it was her number. And my fingers are kind of big, so when I pushed the button, it must have went to that, and it went up to, okay, is that good? And I just hit okay. And I just never changed it back. I thought it was kind of funny.
Okay.
Actually.
So whenever your brother called or you had to call your brother, you were calling Amy Parks or getting a phone call from Amy Parks?
Yeah.
All right. And this is somebody that you, like a friend or something you'd known from some time ago?
Yes.
Okay. Because that phone, you'd had that phone for some period of time, a number of years. Is that right?
I've had multiple phones, and the number just basically got transferred as Androids. As you get a new phone, it would go from one phone to the next, to the next, to the next. So unless I physically changed it, it would never get changed. It would just keep flopping from one phone to the next.
The phone that ultimately the police ended up retrieving, and we'll get to that in a bit, that physical phone, though, you'd had for a number of years. Is that correct?
That style phone I've had.
An Android phone?
I work construction,
Okay.
so my phones get beat up pretty quick.
All right. But you're familiar with the workings of the phone, how to look up old texts and scroll through and contacts and things of that sort. And I'm not talking about in the context of a BlackBerry. I'm talking about the Droid phone.
Right.
You're familiar with the Droid phones?
Enough to get, I guess, to get into calls and to search things and stuff like that. I wouldn't exactly call me phone savvy.
Okay. We'll move on from that. The police show up at your house. Do you recall about what time of day it was?
I would have to imagine it was in the morning.
Okay.
Because I was still in my pajamas.
All right. So the police knock on your door and you went outside? Is that how it worked?
Yeah, they knocked on my front door, which was unusual. So yeah, I walked out my back door and greeted them.
Okay. You earlier indicated you'd been informed that the police may be coming to talk to you, and it may well have been your brother, but you don't have an independent recollection if it was your brother or somebody else.
No, I don't.
Okay. What did they tell you the police were going to be coming to talk to you about?
Just about what was going on in Armada.
Okay. And for the jury's knowledge, I know we're in week 3 of a trial here. What was going on in Armada at that time?
It would have been what happened to April, I guess.
Okay. And also, I guess to clear this up, and you used April's first name, and we're all familiar with her, you didn't know April Millsap?
No, I didn't.
And you did not know her family?
No, I didn't.
And to this day, you don't know her family?
No, I don't.
Okay. So the police are coming to talk to you about this. Did you ask why the police would be coming to my door, whichever, whether it was your brother or somebody else, hey, why did they come and talk to me about this? Did you ask that question?
Did I ask who?
Your brother, your father, your mother, whoever it was who said, hey, Don or Donald or Donnie, however they refer to you, the police are going to be coming to your door, and it's about this Armada thing. Did you say, why me?
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay. That'd be something that sounds like it'd be a natural thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Most people would probably want to know why the police are coming to talk to me if there was a murder in town, right?
Yes.
Do you recall any answer given to you?
I don't really remember what was said.
All right, and I'm not looking for specific words. I want you to give them the information in your own words as to what was told you about why the police might be coming to talk to you.
Other than just my brother was at my house that day. That was, from what I remember,
Okay.
that was it.
So you knew that was going to be part of what was talked about, at least that bit.
I guess you could say that, yes.
So when the police got there, was it at least call it a polite exchange between yourself and the two law enforcement officers?
Yes, yes.
Do you recall one of them being a state trooper? Or do you not know what agency they worked for?
They weren't really in, like, uniform, I guess you could say. They were just in street clothes.
You knew one of them was a special agent from the FBI, though, right?
If I did, it's because he said it to me.
Right. I mean, there's not really an FBI
I
uniform.
don't really remember if he actually said that to me.
Okay.
Or not, but it could have been that one of them was, yes.
If you later texted somebody else to say, hey, the FBI was at my house, let me fill you in, does that jog your memory that you did know that at least one of those two people was an FBI agent?
Yeah, if I texted that, then yes.
Okay. And how did they begin with you? What did they tell you they wanted to know?
Where I was, what time I got home, just information like that.
Okay. And you were willing to talk to them?
Yes.
You're by yourself with the two officers, is that correct?
Yes, I do believe. Yes.
You do live with somebody, is that correct?
Yeah, I live with my girlfriend.
All right. She was not. Do you recall her being out there by your side?
No, I don't think she was out there. No, she wasn't out there.
Okay.
It was just me.
So you're outside talking to these two. You're asked, where were you that day? And did you start going through your day with them?
Yeah, I tried to piece together just anything that I could for them. I was just trying to help any way I could.
If it was said this conversation in total lasted about 20 minutes, would that sound about right? Like from the time they get to you until the time they're like, okay, Mr. VanCallis,
Yeah,
and they leave, about 20 minutes?
Maybe longer. I can't really remember the exact time that they were,
Okay.
you know, I don't even know what time they really even showed up.
You remembered it being sometime when you still had your pajamas on in
Yes.
the morning, but whether it was 9 o'clock or 8:50 or 9:15, it was sometime in the morning.
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall what it was that you told them in terms of when you saw your brother that day?
I don't remember exactly what time I told them. I just tried to piece together from where I was.
Okay.
know.
Do you remember, and we'll get into the times in a little bit here, do you recall what it was that you told, I guess in a narrative form, that had occurred between yourself and your brother that day, in terms of you seeing him, talking to him, things like that? Do you remember what you told the police?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, that was kind of a bad question. Do you remember what you told the police about interacting with your brother that day?
The day that he was at my house?
Yes, the 24th, the day April.
That it was like any other day
Okay.
that he would come and see me.
And does he come to see you at work ever?
No, he never. He knows better.
All right. You worked that day.
Yes.
And do you recall him calling you during the course of your workday?
Yeah.
And several of those phone calls, and I'm going to suggest some times and see. Do you remember the times independently right now?
I couldn't tell you. I would say no.
If I said you had some calls from him at about 5:39 and 5:40, would that sound right?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Do you recall having a missed call at 5:55 that day from him?
I know that he called. I couldn't tell you what times.
All right. You eventually called him back, right?
Yeah, I do believe, yes.
Would you have already have left your work at that point? To the best of your memory?
Yes, because I wouldn't have called him at work.
Okay. And if I suggested at about 6:04, would that sound about right that you would have spoke to him on the phone?
I couldn't tell you that. I mean, if I left, I couldn't tell you exactly the time.
All right. At some point, did you make person-to-person contact with him on that day? On the phone?
Like
On the phone.
On the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay. Did you make plans or discuss plans you already had for that day?
No, he just said that he was coming to my house, and I knew that he was coming over previously.
You already knew that?
Yes, through my father.
Through your father, okay. Had your father sent you like a text or a phone call to tell you this?
I would imagine he would have called me.
Okay. And what was the purpose of him coming over that day?
I do believe it was to get money for dog food.
Okay. So when you spoke to him on the phone, did you just kind of like confirm your plans, or do you remember what you talked about?
I honestly, I don't even remember what was even said. I know that money was mentioned just because that was the gist of why he was coming.
All right. You, your brother still at that time lived with his parents, correct? Your parents and his parents.
Correct. Correct.
He was living in the home with them.
Yes.
You did not. How long had you been living out on your own at that time?
Over 8 years.
Okay.
Maybe longer.
Do you recall seeing your brother that evening?
Yes.
And how did he arrive?
He arrived on his motorcycle.
And his motorcycle, you're familiar with that motorcycle? What sort of motorcycle is that?
It is I do believe it is a Suzuki.
Okay, what style?
It is an Enduro.
All right, I'm just going to show you a picture. I'm not going to necessarily put it up. I just want to see if you recognize that. I'm showing you
Yes.
People's Exhibit 164.
Yes.
That's the motorcycle
Yes.
he drove over that day?
Yes.
Do you remember when you were talking to the police that first time, what time you told them he got to your house?
To tell you the truth, I couldn't even tell you. It was early in the morning. It was I don't know.
If the police reports indicate that you told the police that he got there at about 6:25 to 6:30, does that refresh your memory as to what time you told the police he got there?
Not really, but if they put that, I mean, I could have said that.
Okay. And to be clear, you knew why they were coming to talk to you ahead of time.
Yeah, because my brother was in Armada that day at my house.
Okay. So we have that time frame. Actually, do you remember even while the police were there that day talking to you, do you remember going through your phone trying to like firm up the times?
Yes, I did. I actually told them to huddle in, and I tried showing them through my phone, and you know,
Okay.
I just wanted to help.
And one of the things that you have in your phone, right, we have this text message where you text your brother at 6:44 that home, like you're letting him know that you're home, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, you remember sending the text home at 6:44.
Yes. Well, I don't remember the time. I just remember sending home, because that's usually what I would send.
Okay, here's the one word, you know you're home now, right?
Yes.
Text messages, when you look into your phone, they have a time next to them, don't they?
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah.
And that, in fact, would be why you'd be looking in your phone, to help you jog your memory as to times.
I was just trying to see, yeah, times, yes.
And you indicated actually at one point the officers huddled up around you, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And do you also remember them that day saying, you know what, we'd like to take your phone and have it analyzed? Do you remember them asking that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you indicated no, you would not allow that.
Absolutely.
And they did not, rip it out of your hands or anything like that, correct? They didn't take it from you.
No, I think that's kind of when they huddled in.
Okay.
And I said that I would show them anything that they would like right here with me.
Okay. So they were paying attention then to what you were telling them in the times That was their purpose in being there.
Yeah, I mean, at the time it just seemed that they were just trying to figure out who was at my house. Just made it seem like they were getting basic information from everybody.
And this is the first time they'd spoken to you.
Correct.
Did they ask you who else was at your house?
Yes, they did.
And who else was there? During the course of the evening.
Of that night?
Yeah, the 24th.
That was my girlfriend's brother.
Who was that?
Which is Jonathan.
Okay.
His friend, Matt.
Okay.
There was Sam, which was one of my friends from a long time ago.
Okay. And Sam is a woman, so we're clear. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And her friend from New York.
Do you remember her name?
I couldn't tell you her name.
All right. It's not somebody you regularly associate with?
I can remember her face. I just can't remember her.
I said Leah. Does that sound right?
I couldn't even tell you.
Fair enough.
I don't even know.
So those folks were all at your house during the course of the evening?
Yes.
Do you remember then, a second time the police came to talk to you, so the first time they talked to you was that Saturday. Do you remember them coming back the next day, 2 more state troopers, different individuals, the next day to come and talk to you?
I thought it was the same day. I could be mistaken.
All right. Do you recall the next time they talked to you, you giving a different time frame as to what time you got home and what time your brother got home?
I couldn't even tell you. I don't really know about the times. I probably did give them a time, but to say that the time was right or wrong, I couldn't really say.
And I guess I'm not getting that right or wrong. I guess I'm getting that different.
What
do you
mean?
remember? I mean this. On the first time you talked to him, you said that your brother got there at about 6:25 to 6:30. The next time you talked to him, you said he got there at 7 or a little later. Do you remember that?
I could have said that. Yeah, I could have said that.
Did that come about because the police started talking to the other 4 or 5 people who were there, and your boss as well?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not them.
Okay. I guess I'm asking if you know why there was a change in the time that you gave the police. And I know you're not them, so you don't know what's in their head.
I just never really... I was clocked out. I didn't really have a reason to keep track of time.
Okay. And in fact, the police came and talked to you a third time. Do you remember that? This is the time you're out at your work site?
I couldn't even tell you how many times they talked to me.
All right. At least 3.
At least 3.
Okay. We'll go with at least 3. On that occasion, do you remember them asking you again for your version of events or what happened that day?
Yeah, that's probably why they were there.
All right. And I'm taking you out now in your own mind to the scene where you're out at a work scene and you had to walk a long driveway to go out to meet them. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And on that occasion, do you recall them again asking for your phone? This is the third time they've talked to you now. Mr. VanCallis, we want your phone. We want to analyze your phone.
Yes.
All right. On that occasion, do you remember what it was you told them about your phone?
Yeah, something along the effects that I lost it and that I don't have it.
Okay. And you actually, on top of that, you said you lost it a few days ago. Do you remember telling them that?
I don't remember when I told them I lost it. I know that I said that I lost it.
Do you remember even the backstory of you'd left it at a gas station and last saw it at 32 and Romeo Plank? I mean, you had the... You don't remember that whole story?
I don't even know. I probably said that, but you know, I didn't think that they were going to come to my work.
Okay.
You know.
You weren't real happy to see him that day, I'm imagining.
I wasn't not happy to see him.
All right.
They came to ask me questions. I told them any way that I could help them that I would help.
Except you didn't want to give him your phone.
Well, would you?
Would I give my phone?
Would you?
If there was a 14-year-old girl,
Stop. You don't get to answer this question. The answer's yours, please.
I'm not allowed to answer that question. Suffice to say, at some point that day, they got your phone. Is that right?
Yeah, I gave it to him.
Right. Do you recall the police actually calling your phone and then confronting you and saying, listen, your phone's not dead. We just called it. It rang 6 times. Your phone's not dead. Where is it?
Yeah, I think that they did that right there.
Yeah, and then you actually had your boss, Jeff, walk it out to the police. Do you remember that?
That's because it was inside of the job site, yes.
Right, so they didn't go into the job site.
No,
And-
they were polite and they stayed at the road.
And at that point, once you had this, you kind of backed off I didn't lose it, fine. And you did at that point turn it over to the police.
Yes,
They did not have a warrant or anything, you cooperated and gave it.
yes.
What was your brother wearing when he showed up at your house that evening at 7 or a little bit later? To the best of your memory.
I couldn't even tell you. The only thing that I remembered was a white T-shirt.
Okay. And do you remember another description of that white T-shirt as having some colorful something on the
Yes,
front of it?
yes.
Okay. There's been discussion about a hoodie and whether he would wear a hoodie while riding his motorcycle, the Enduro. Do you recall him wearing a hoodie on other occasions riding the motorcycle?
Yeah, I could see him wearing a hoodie.
And do you remember telling us in a prior interview setting where I was present and you were there that he would wear a Carhartt hoodie?
Yeah, I probably said that. Yeah.
Okay. Do you recall pants, anything about pants that you saw that day?
No, I don't.
What about shoes? Do you recall
No.
shoes?
I don't.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever had discussions in any form, and I mean like text, email, whether through another family member conveying a message to you face-to-face, on the phone, any way, shape, or form, between your brother and yourself about you suggesting certain clothing he was wearing that day? Do you know if that ever
Me
happened?
suggesting to him?
No, to the police.
The only thing that I could even remember was that he was wearing a colorful shirt.
Okay.
A white colorful shirt, but what it was on it, I had no idea.
Fair enough. And my question, though, is, do you recall if you ever had any communication between yourself and your brother with him suggesting what you should tell the police he was wearing that day?
No, sir.
You don't
No.
recall?
No.
Or
no,
you know that?
No, that I don't believe that happened.
Okay. Do you remember answering when you were under oath previously in this case, many times, and I can go through the transcript, that you didn't actually remember, which is a different answer from no.
That I didn't, well,
You didn't remember if your brother had ever suggested that to you.
I said that I didn't remember if he suggested that to me.
Correct.
I don't remember that either.
Okay. Your brother did make one request of you, though, that you do specifically remember following yours and his discussions with the police. Do you remember what that was? You do not remember?
What?
You're shaking your head. I got to make a record. So.
Well, I
You
don't
don't
know.
remember?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Do you remember him asking you to delete all text communication between yourself and him?
Yes.
You do remember that?
Yes, I do.
And for your own sake, you decided, what? I'm not doing that. Is that correct?
Yeah, something to that effect.
Was it different? Because you tell me in your words then. If that's not my... You use your words.
I think I said absolutely not.
Okay.
I think that's probably what I said.
And in the context of what's going on in Armada and the FBI and the state police, and they're coming, and your brother makes this request of you, did you ask him, why would you ask me to do that? Why? Did you ask him that question?
I can't remember if I asked him or not about that.
I'm assuming that you do not know if he deleted messages in his phone. You would not know that, correct? Unless he told you.
Correct.
Did he tell you if he was deleting the communications on his phone? Did he tell you that, or do you have no recollection of that?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
I may have asked you this on a prior occasion, but I'm going to ask now. In your phone, you've got this Amy Parks, and we've explained this to the jury.
Yeah.
But there's there's another entry in your phone called Little Bro. Who is that?
That is my girlfriend's brother, Little Bro.
Got it. So this is not your brother.
Well, he was a little bro when that was put into the phone.
Okay.
But now he's 22, 21. And,
All right, but it's not Jimmy, I guess is what I'm saying, or James, your brother.
No.
Little Bro is not your brother.
No.
It's your girlfriend, fiance's.
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall if your brother ever asked you during this time frame, we're talking about in the week or two following the murder, that he needs you to stand by him or stand with him or anything of that sort?
No.
And again, you don't know what kind of shoes or pants he was wearing that day?
No, sir.
When he got there, where did he, describe the scene that evening? So it's about 7 o'clock. What are you doing, and when do you see him?
It all kind of blurs together because Sarah's brother and his friend showed up.
Okay.
And then
That's Matt.
That was as soon as I got home.
That's Sarah's brother
And his
and
friend.
his friend Matt.
Yes.
So they're there, you're there, the three of you now.
Yes.
All right.
And we were talking and sitting there, and then my brother showed up.
Okay.
And I was let know by Jonathan, that he was there.
Were you inside when he showed up?
No, we were all outside.
Okay. Were you around the back of your house or something that you had to be let know he showed up?
No, I think that he just heard him before I did, because where he was standing.
Okay.
There's a garage in the way of the road, so, or not in the way of the road, but kind of like there's like a little hallway, I guess you could say, or whatever, that leads to my backyard.
All right. And were you guys hanging out in your backyard?
We were hanging out, I guess you could say it's my backyard. It's behind my house, or on the side where my entrance to my house is.
You have a fire pit there?
Oh, yes.
And you had to actually just put some new blocks to make this, right?
Yes.
And do you recall where your brother put his motorcycle when he got there?
I believe he parked it right by my door, because I remember him asking me to grab a block so he could put his bike kickstand on so it wouldn't fall in the grass.
And earlier you referred to a door as a front door and a back door. Is that what you're calling the back door to your house? Or is it a side door? Or
I would say side door.
Side door?
Yes.
So the motorcycle was on the grass towards that door, in the area of that door?
Yes. Yeah.
And you have a driveway then between that area and the street? Like street, driveway, then that area?
It's like a driveway that leads up to a garage, and then my house is like right here, so there would be like a little area right here in between the house and the garage.
Okay. And that's where the motorcycle got put? On the grass?
Yes.
And you actually remember that, right? Because you didn't want to take in one of your new blocks.
Yeah.
You just...
Yeah.
All right. So did they find another block or something?
I do believe he asked John to find him something, and John found him a brick or something.
Okay. It was a cordial evening then amongst your brother, yourself, and these other two individuals who were already there, right?
Yes.
And then these two women showed up and they joined in the evening's socializing.
Yes.
And in general terms, what was the purpose of the gathering that night?
It was actually, well, for my brother, it was to come and get money off of me, but for Sam and her friend, I don't know what her friend was doing, probably just tagging along with her, but she was coming to bring me marijuana.
All right. And that's obviously, we're not, and I appreciate your candor, we're not here about a marijuana case, you understand that, right?
Yes.
All right. So were people, then there was some marijuana and smoking going on at that location?
Yes.
All right. And do you remember your brother leaving at some point that evening, like leaving your house? You didn't stay the night there?
No, he left.
He left. Do you remember about when he left?
I couldn't say the exact time. I just know it was getting before, like, right before dark. It was like almost dusk out, I guess you could say.
And do you know where your brother was living, Jenna, and some of your
Yes.
other family members? Where were they living?
In Goodalls, Michigan.
From your house heading to Goodalls, would Armada Ridge be a basic kind of road starting you in that direction?
Yeah, it goes to Armada, so yes, I would take that to to North Avenue, and then what is that road right there? Is that North?
Fulton, North Avenue, it's one
It's
and the
North
same?
Avenue. North Avenue, yes. And then
If
I
you
would
turn
take-
left to go north out of Armada, it's North Avenue, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So you take Armada Ridge from your place up to north.
And then I make
go
a
north.
left and go up, yes.
So now you're heading northbound.
Yes.
And then eventually you're going to make your way over, because you're going to have to go a little more east, is that correct? To get
Yeah,
over to there?
I go to Boardman, and then it's like it's literally zigzag the whole way there.
Okay.
There's no straight route. It's just kind of the fastest route is the long route, I guess.
All right. By the way, and your brother, did he tell you what he was, when he called you or you called him and you were talking on the phone, did he tell you what he was doing, like waiting for you, or what was going on that evening on the 24th?
I don't remember what he said that he was doing in between. I know that he called me on his Bluetooth headset on his bike, and it's just nothing but static.
Okay. And I've got phone calls to you, in addition to the ones I already mentioned, at 5:39 and 5:40, and then 5:55.
And that was me?
To you from Amy Parks, who's your brother.
Okay.
And then another one at 6:14, and then you calling Amy Parks at 6:16. Would one of those phone calls maybe have been a Bluetooth phone call?
It could have been.
Okay.
I couldn't really say for sure.
And then it was after that at 6:44 you send this text message home, right?
Yeah, I couldn't tell exact what time it was, but yeah, I did send home.
Okay. Now later that night after he left, I have 3 phone calls, or do you recall 3 phone calls from you to your brother? At like 9 o'clock and 9:15, do you remember that? I take that back. It's from Amy Parks to you. Do you remember him calling you 3 times that night after he left?
No, I don't remember him calling me.
So then obviously you wouldn't remember what you talked about.
No, I don't even remember talking to him.
Judge, can I just have one moment? That Bluetooth you were talking about, that was something that he would have used like while riding his motorcycle.
Yeah.
Staticky.
Yeah.
And in order for you to hear him, would have had to stop somewhere in order for you to kind of like actually communicate?
I don't know. That was really up to him.
Yeah, but on your end, could you understand him if he was driving? I mean, my understanding is that Bluetooth...
No, you wouldn't be able to understand. Oh, you could understand, it's just, I just always figured, why would you call me with static when you could just call me regularly?
Okay. All right. And he didn't tell you what else he was doing between the time he left his house and the time he got to your house?
Not that I remember, but, I mean, he could have, but I just don't recall it. That's what he did.
All right. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Donnie.
Afternoon.
start off with, I'm going to take you back to Thursday, July 24, 2014. You got up and went to work that day, correct?
Yes.
Where do you live? What's the name of the city you live in?
Armada.
You live in the city of Armada?
I live in, I guess you could say it would be the township, because isn't like the town, and then the township would be like the outskirts of Armada. So yeah, the outskirts of Armada.
Okay, and how long have you lived there?
I lived at the residence that I lived at for probably 4 or 5 years, and I lived at another residence right down the street from there, on the same road, just across the way. For
At this residence that we're talking about, how long had you lived there by July 24th?
At least 4 years.
And what is this? Is this an apartment? Is it a trailer?
It's a house. It's I rent it, but it's a house.
How many bedrooms?
There's 1 bedroom.
And how many bathrooms?
There's 1 bathroom.
Okay, and what time did you leave for work, did you say, approximately?
6 o'clock.
And where is it physically that you work at? What city?
I work everywhere.
Well, where do you report to work at 6 in the morning? Where did you report that day?
Oh, that day?
Yes.
It was Ferndale, Michigan.
Okay, and how do you remember that?
Just because I checked with my supervisor and my boss and kind of went over my timesheet with them, and that's the time that both of me and my supervisor clocked out.
Okay. You were at work all day. Did you leave Ferndale, or did you stay pretty much at the Ferndale work site?
Yes, we were at Ferndale the whole time.
And what time did you leave that day, if you remember, left work?
6 o'clock.
And how do you know that today?
From, like I said, going over my timesheets.
So because of this case, because being asked and knowing that you needed to be precise, you went back and got your
Yes.
timesheet?
Yes.
Let me finish. Only one of us can talk at a time, Mr. VanCallis.
Oh, sorry.
Because the microphones can't get both, okay?
Sorry.
So, basically, in light of this case, knowing that it was important, you went back and reviewed your timesheets with your superiors or human resources. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that indicated that you got off work at 6 p.m. that day, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then you proceeded home. Did you go anywhere else?
I don't think so. No.
You don't recall?
I don't recall if I did or not.
Where would you normally go on the way home if you did stop somewhere?
Tim Hortons.
Tim Hortons where?
Right at the corner of 53 and 32 Mile.
And 53, just in case if somebody's not familiar, there's also Van Dyke. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And what city is that in?
That would be Romeo.
Okay. Do you know, is that a 24-hour Tim Hortons? Is it a limited time?
It's 24 hours.
All right. And that day you don't recall if you stopped there, correct?
That's correct.
But it's normal for you to stop there? Or on occasion?
more so than often than not, yes.
And when you stop there, usually is it on the way to work or on the way home from work that you stop there?
Both.
Both?
On the way there and on the way home.
Okay. And now on this date, was there anything different other than what happened? Was there anything different about this date, about July 24th? It's a Thursday, 2014.
No.
Okay, so at this point it's just a regular day, correct?
Correct.
So you're not being hyper vigilant about keeping track of where you are at every second, correct?
No.
Okay. Now, I think you indicated that you wouldn't take calls at work. Is that because office policy forbids it, or you just, is it awkward to do while you're working?
That's just my personal stand at work. I don't like being called.
Okay, so and then we had Mr. Daly indicated several calls that were placed around 5-something, so you didn't take those. Is that your
That's
position?
correct.
Okay, and so they were either missed calls or just went to voicemail, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you left work and went home, about how long a drive is it normally?
From when I mean, I don't know exactly from when my times, because like I said, I work everywhere, but from that day, it would have been 44 minutes from the GPS that when I typed in my address to there. So
And
44.
what motivated you to text the word home to your brother at 6:44 p.m.?
I was home.
No, but what motivated you to do that? That's not something you do every day, is it?
Oh, just because he was calling me.
Okay.
You know, because he called me and he texted me, you know, so
And you knew he was coming over to get $50 for dog food, is that correct?
yes. Yep.
Oh, okay. And did you in fact give him $50?
I do believe I gave him $60.
Why'd you give him 60?
Because I didn't have change.
Okay. And did he also come over to bring you something?
I didn't realize that he brought it over to me until he got there. But yes, he brought me something.
And what was it that he brought you?
He brought me my toothbrush charger that I was missing for years upon years upon years.
Okay, and how did he present it to you? Was it in a bag? Was it wrapped?
It was wrapped in a gift bag, and it had a bow on it, and it was wrapped in newspaper around that, and it had a tag on it from me to you.
And July 24, is there your birthday, or is there any significant occasion going on around that time?
No, not that I'm aware of.
So do you know why it was presented almost like a gift?
Because I was at his house before, digging through his clothes, digging through his closets, digging through, and he let me, but I dug, and I couldn't find it.
So you still had the original toothbrush or the toothbrush part, correct?
Yes, yes.
It's the charger that you were missing, right?
Yes.
And he found it and he brought it over and kind of gift wrapped it before he gave it to you, correct?
Correct.
Okay, what time did he arrive at your house to the best of your knowledge?
It had to have been, I mean, still, I still don't know exactly.
Or let me help you walk through it. You have a living girlfriend named Sarah, correct?
Correct.
How long have you two been together?
Almost a decade.
All right, and at this point on July 24, 2014, she was not at home when you came home from work, correct?
That's correct.
And after all these people left is when she came home, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So she didn't see anybody coming, going, or anything, right?
No.
When you get home, is anybody at all at your house?
When I got home, like when?
On the 24th of July?
Oh, when I first
2014?
arrived to my house?
Yes, sir.
No, there was nobody there.
Okay, now when you texted home at 6:44, were you actually home or where were you at?
I could see myself being down the street from my house at Armada Ridge, which is probably, if I was to say how far it was, it would probably be 4 times the distance from here to the elevators to out here, outside this room.
So, just so that the record is clear, is it your indication that when you texted to your brother home at 6:44, were you at home or were you just about home on Armada Ridge Road?
I was just about home.
Okay. And after you got home, who was the first person that appeared at your home?
That would have been my girlfriend's brother, John, and his friend, Matt.
And what was the purpose of them coming over?
They were just driving by. They seen me that I just got home, and they backed up and they pulled in, and then they just started hanging out.
So this wasn't a pre-planned party or anything like that, correct?
No.
But approximately how old is John?
John just turned 21, so at the time he was probably he was 20.
Okay, and John is the brother of Sarah, your fiancée, correct?
Correct.
And he's the one that, in response to Mr. Daly's question, you had listed as little bro, correct?
Correct.
He just turned 21, so you've known him like 10 years. You've known him since he was a little kid, basically, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, they get there. How did they arrive? Who drove?
It was in John's car, so I would imagine that he was driving, and then Matt was in the passenger seat.
Okay. And how long after they got there did your brother show up?
Not much long after. It was shortly after, I would say 10, 15 minutes maybe.
And what's helping you recall that it was about 10 or 15 minutes?
Just thinking about it, trying to think back, I would say.
Now, while Matt and John are at your house and you're there, are you folks inside, outside, going in and out? What are you doing?
We're outside.
And what are you doing, hanging out by the fire pit?
Yeah, I guess you could say the fire pit, the backyard area between the house and the fire pit, somewhere in that area.
Are you guys drinking a few beers?
I don't remember if we were drinking. We were smoking.
Smoking weed?
Yes.
Okay. All three of you?
Yes.
And then your brother arrives, correct?
Correct.
He pulls up on his motorcycle?
Yes.
You don't recall what he's wearing exactly other than maybe a white t-shirt, is that correct?
Yes.
He comes out, what does he say to you? What's the first thing he says, if you recall?
He threw his hand up. What's up, guys? And
Did he
we all
already
said,
know Matt and John?
Yes, he knew John pretty well, and I'm sure he knew Matt fairly well, but not as good as John did.
Do Matt and John go back a ways? Have they been friends for a
Yes.
while? Okay. So then when James gets there and says, hi, guys, what happens next?
I believe that's when he brought out the present that he brought me, or the gift that he brought me.
Now, when he first presented it to you, you did say it was wrapped and it had a bow on it. Did you know immediately what it was, or did you have no idea?
I knew exactly what it was, and I actually told John before he even showed up in the driveway that I know what it is.
Okay, because he had told you on the phone he had a gift for you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then what did you do? Did you unwrap the gift?
Yes.
What did you do with the wrappings, if you remember?
I threw him in the fire pit.
Okay. And what happens next?
We were just sitting there hanging out for the
Well,
most part.
As part of your hanging out activities, was Mr. VanCallis also, your brother VanCallis, was he also smoking weed?
Yes.
And who was supplying this weed?
I do believe it was mine.
Okay. Did anybody else show up?
Yes, Sam and her friend.
And Sam is Samantha, correct?
Yes.
And she's a friend of yours that you've known for a while, right?
Yes.
Okay. And this friend of hers that showed up, you said you don't recall her name, correct?
That's correct.
She's from out of state, correct?
Correct.
Was that the first time that you had ever seen her?
Yes.
Have you ever seen her since that date?
No.
What was the purpose of Samantha and her friend's visit to your place?
It was to bring me marijuana.
Who was
Well,
bringing it?
that was Sam.
Sam. And how much marijuana did she bring you?
I would say an ounce.
And did you pay for it?
Yes.
How much did you pay for it?
270, 280 bucks.
You gave it that in cash?
Yes.
Now when Samantha and this other lady arrived, whose vehicle did they arrive in?
I would have to say it's hers because the other girl was from out of state.
By hers you mean Samantha's?
Yes.
Do you normally know what kind of vehicle she drives?
Yes.
So now that you think back about it, was it her normal vehicle?
Yes.
Now how long after Mr. VanCallis arrived did Samantha and this unknown female arrive?
It wasn't much long after. It all happened kind of quick.
Okay, but you know, this is very crucial for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. So when you say not that long, could you say 5 to 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, longer?
I would say 10 to 15 minutes.
Right. Now, did they also hang around and smoke some weed too?
Yes.
Did they smoke your weed that you just bought, or did they pull out their own stash?
They shared.
They shared what they had?
Yeah, they brought some out too.
Okay. And did your brother also buy some weed?
That I'm not exactly sure on.
Did he also light up?
He could have.
Okay. Did he also light up a doobie and pass it around? If you remember.
I don't know if he did, but he could have.
Would it be fair to say that at this time of your life you were smoking a lot of weed?
Yes.
Now, who's the first person to leave? Does anybody leave?
Yes. I think Sam left, or my brother left. One of them left before the other.
Okay, and about how long was Samantha there altogether, do you recall? If you recall.
I would say no longer than an hour and 10 minutes, about an hour.
And about how long was your brother James there that day?
I would say probably about the same.
Now,
Maybe give or take a little bit.
you don't have 100% recollection of if Samantha and the unknown female or James left first, correct?
That's correct.
But it definitely was not Matt and John, correct?
That's correct.
And do you remember, was it dark? Was it still light out? Or was it sun starting to set at the time? Whomever left first?
Are you talking about Sam or Jimmy?
Right, Sam, Jimmy, or this other lady?
I would say that it was just before getting dark. It was like dusk out.
Okay. If you know, about what time would that have been around July 24th of 2014?
That I'm not too sure.
Would you have any argument if it was mostly said to be about 8:30?
I couldn't argue with that.
Okay.
I guess.
Now, when Mr. VanCallis was departing, did he say anything to you, or did he say why he was leaving?
He had concerns about deer.
What concerns about deer?
Just that he was on a motorcycle and that he's almost hit a deer before, and that he just would like to be able to see as he's going.
And how do you know that he almost hit a deer before?
Because he told me. I think just he told me.
What about Samantha? Did she ever indicate to you that he had come over her house?
She could have told me.
You don't remember for sure?
No.
Did your brother know Samantha well enough that he could have been over her house at some point?
Yes.
Okay. So, the time that Mr. VanCallis is at your house, does he leave at any moment to use the bathroom?
No.
Well, you kind of hesitated. Think very seriously.
No, he didn't. I was just thinking, and he didn't.
Did he leave to go off in the bushes by himself or go anywhere else?
No.
Do you have a garden hose outside that's, that's just
No.
hanging or anything?
No.
Was he wet at all?
No.
Was he full of sweat at all?
No.
Was he, what about his bike? Was his bike wet?
No.
Did his bike look like it had just been washed?
No.
Did he attempt to wash it or clean it the whole time he was there?
No.
When she got there, was he wearing his helmet?
Yes.
And did he wear it the whole time he was there, or did he take it off?
He took it off when he got in the driveway.
Okay, what did he do with the helmet, if you recall?
I couldn't say for sure, but I would imagine he would have hung it on his handlebar, but that's kind of what I would do, so maybe he didn't do that. I'm not sure.
Do you remember maybe testifying or indicating prior that that's what you thought he did, as he left it on the handlebars?
That could be possible, yes.
Okay. Did you see him at all wiping clean or rubbing his helmet in any way, shape, or manner with anything?
No.
Did you see him trying to clean his shoes or brush himself off, brush dirt off him, leave debris, anything like that at all?
No.
Did you see him being extremely thirsty, asking for water, or being out of breath, or anything physiologically different than the times that you had known him before?
No.
Did he basically just chill with you and Samantha and John and the lady and Matt?
Yes.
Now this lady, Amy, what is it, Parks?
Amy Parks.
Amy Parks. This is a real lady, right?
Yes.
And who is she?
She is a longtime friend that, she moved away and we kind of lost touch. But she was a good friend of mine.
Is she still a good friend of yours?
I would say that she's a friend of mine. We don't talk as much as we used to, but I'm sure that if I needed something, I could call her.
And does she still reside in your contacts?
Yes. Yes, she actually, under Amy Parks.
Well, we have had some testimony that when Amy Parks comes up, it's a call from your brother. So when the real Amy Parks calls, what happens? What shows up on your phone? If you know.
It shows up Amy Parks.
So when you get a call and it says Amy Parks, are you telling us that you can't be sure whether it's your brother or the real Amy Parks?
No, because like I said, me and Amy kind of lost contact. She kind of went her way, I went my way. And so when my brother would call me, I just always knew his number is Amy Parks.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Today is February of 2016. When's the last time you had a telephone conversation and or a text from Amy Parks, the real Amy Parks?
Probably a few weeks ago.
And did it pop up as Amy Parks on your phone?
Yes.
And I guess my question is, maybe I'm stating it wrong. When it pops up Amy Parks, other than when you have the conversation and know that's a male voice and it's your brother, it's a female voice,
Right.
Is there anything that indicates whether it's the real Amy Parks or whether it's your brother Amy Parks?
The only thing that I've seen is one says home and one says cell phone.
Which one says cell phone, if you recall?
I don't recall which one's cell phone and which one's home.
But that Amy Parks is I think you explained that when your brother had called, you had went from BlackBerry to Android.
Yes.
You wanted to save the phone, you hit the save number. Amy was maybe the first categorically number, and it just hit it saved, and you never took time to change it since then, correct?
That's correct.
And you've had multiple Android phones, and from that time, all you've done is just flip your contacts like most people do, and it just takes the whole bunch and puts them on the new phone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, you were very hesitant, or at least it appears from what Mr. Daly has said about turning your telephone over to the police, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but if I also understand it correctly, you said several times that you told them you would be fully cooperative, let them look at it in your presence, and do whatever they wanted to do, correct?
That's correct.
And also using your words, you invited them to huddle with you and to look at it. I take it huddle, you mean like in the football sense.
Like,
Come around.
literally arms around me.
So it was only actually giving the phone up that was
The
something that you
problem.
were uncomfortable with, correct?
Yes.
And is that part of the reason because a lot of your weed contacts are on that phone?
Yes.
Any side girlfriends?
No.
Okay. So there were things on there that you really, I mean, it's for personal and private reasons, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if I had pictures of my girlfriend, which I think I stated to them that,
May have been adult pictures.
well, just, you know, I mean, with your girlfriend, you know,
Right.
I don't know. It's not like I went through all my pictures and tried to look at them all.
Okay, but just so that ladies and gentlemen of the jury are clear on this, it was not to protect or hide any criminal behavior on your part, other than perhaps your connections with people associated with the selling, smoking, and whatever else of marijuana, correct?
That's correct.
And you indicated that your brother may have said something to you to the effect of delete the text, and you said no, right?
Yeah, I think I said absolutely not.
Absolutely not, and you did not delete anything, correct?
No, sir.
Does your brother own a hoodie, Cartman hoodie? Carhartt hoodie, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Do you know what color it is?
Tell you the truth, I can't really say. I'm semi-colorblind.
Actually, we talked about this before, right? What's your color blindness?
Yes.
It's coming back to me.
I'm blind in one eye, so it affects my depth perception
And colors?
and colors.
Eventually, when the police and the FBI and the Michigan State Troopers and the sheriffs and all those people came, somebody came and searched your house, correct?
Yes.
And did that happen more than one time or just one time?
No, that was one time.
Did they also search the bathroom to the best of your knowledge?
I would imagine they were all through my house.
Where were you at while this was going on?
I was at my job.
So they came while you
being
were...
questioned by the police.
So at the simultaneous time, they executed a search warrant on your house while they're talking to you, correct?
Yes.
Was Sarah at the house, if you know?
I don't believe she was. She was working as well, I think.
All right, when you came back, was there what's usually called a tabulation or search warrant, something indicating what they had taken?
Yes.
Do you remember what some of the things were that were taken?
My PlayStation 4, which was new in a box, not even opened. They took my shot glass out of an antique that I got from my father. It was like a bar set. And just, I couldn't tell you exactly everything else that they took. I mean, they did have a list of things, but, you know, they took clothing, stuff like that.
The clothing that they took, was it your clothing, Sarah's clothing, or both clothing? Did you know?
I think it was just my clothing, or male clothing, I guess you could say.
What size, I can't tell from here, sir, what size shoes do you wear?
I'm wearing 8s right now, but I wear 9s.
Okay. And did you have subsequent contact with the police after the search warrant was executed?
Did I talk to him again following the
Yeah,
search
did you have
warrant?
any contact with them? Telephone, talking? Your car?
No.
So he basically stayed outside by the fire, hanging out, smoking weed, and left at 8:30, correct?
Yes.
Let's talk about Crystal. Do you remember who that is?
Yes.
Crystal Stadler is your brother's long-term 9-year girlfriend, correct?
Yes.
During the time that you stayed with your parents, do you know, were any efforts made by you or other family members to help her obtain her driver's license?
God, I almost think all of us kind of like, I mean, it's not as far as us like saying get in the car, but we all said that we would help her get her
And
license.
what was the obstacle? Why did it not go any further, do you recall?
I just think that she just never followed up on it, or she just never did anything with it.
Was there any conscious effort on Mr. VanCallis' part, your fathers, your sisters, your mothers, your nieces, and your nephews, or anybody else in the VanCallis family to prevent Crystal Stadler from driving or obtaining her driving privileges?
No.
If anything, the contrary was that you folks offered help. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it never materialized into an actual license that you know of, correct?
That's correct.
Now, did Crystal Stadler also have a telephone at that time or no? Or during most of the time that she's with your brother?
I think she had a phone. I don't know for how long, or...
Do you recall having a number to call her and having her number in your contacts?
I think I did have her contact in my phone.
Was any effort made to try to prevent her from communicating with anybody or from not having a telephone?
No.
Do you know if she had a Facebook and if she would receive and transmit texts or be online?
That I don't know.
Were you not a friend of hers on Facebook, or you just don't know?
I just don't know.
Was any effort made to prevent her from having internet access or any contact with the outside world?
Not from what I know, and not from what I've seen.
Over the period of time that you had been with Sarah, which is about a decade,
Yes.
and we know that Mr. VanCallis and Ms. Stadler were together for about 9 years.
Yes.
Did Sarah and Crystal become friends or become close, or would they associate with each other?
They were actually friends before me and Sarah, or probably even Jimmy and Crystal even got together.
Okay.
They went to school together.
I didn't know that. You're talking about your girlfriend Sarah, your
Yes.
fiancée, and Crystal Stadler, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So do you think it would have been reasonable that if Crystal was the subject of any kind of abuse, she would have confided in Sarah and or asked for help?
Yes.
She would have, right?
Yes.
Just 1 second, John. Mr. VanCallis, you said that you thought that your brother...
Yes.
If
But I
you saw-
have a Carhartt hoodie. So
I'm sorry?
I said I have a Carhartt hoodie too, so, you know.
If you saw that Carhartt hoodie, would you be able to recognize it?
I would, yeah, I mean, I guess I could say that that's a Carhartt hoodie.
No, would you recognize it from the color, the style, whether it has writing on the left sleeve, the right sleeve?
I know that it had writing on it.
Do you remember which sleeve it had writing on?
That I couldn't tell you.
If I were to ask you to maybe close your eyes for a moment and just try to remember, would that help you or no, to determine which side the writing was on? If not,
No.
it is what it is, all right.
No.
Now, what about your brother's K-Swiss shoes? You know he had some K-Swiss shoes, right?
I know that he wore that style of shoe.
Did he also have other types of shoes
Yeah, he was like a woman.
when it came to shoes?
Yes.
And I don't know if you remember, but do you remember Crystal testifying to that as well at the exam, that he was like a...
Objection. How would he know that?
Oh, okay. He thought, you weren't present at the exam when
No.
Crystal was examined.
No, I wasn't.
I'll withdraw that question. What makes you say he's like a woman? How many pairs of shoes did he have?
I couldn't tell you what they were, but I just know that has a lot of shoes. He has more shoes than any guy should ever have.
Okay, well, just tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury a ballpark figure. Be conservative if you recall. If this is true, would he wear dirty shoes like the K-Swiss if he's riding his motorcycles, maybe the clean shoes like the Jordans if he's riding in his SUV or going to the mall?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, don't let me put words in your mouth. Is that your recollection, or am I...
No, that is. Like, my brother cared about his stuff.
Okay, and was he, and I hate to say this with him present right there, was he a bit of a clean freak, a little bit OCD?
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean.
Okay, and did that also explain why he kept hand sanitizer by the computer so if somebody else used the keyboard he would...
Yes.
Was there other freaky stuff like that he did, that nothing criminal, but that kind of
Well,
OCD type of stuff?
Definitely OCD like that.
And also OCD about his shoes and what he wore to wear, correct?
Yes.
When your brother would come over your house and park his motorcycle, did you ever remember seeing any oil after he left or any drips from the motorcycle?
I don't remember. It's the country. We don't really look for that.
Do you yourself have a motorcycle?
At the time I did.
And did your motorcycle leak frequently or no?
Tell you the truth, I couldn't tell you.
To the best of your knowledge, and I know I've asked you this before, about how many minutes elapsed from the time at 6:44 that you texted the word home to the time that James actually showed up at your house?
Can you repeat that?
From the time that you texted the word home at 6:44 p.m.
Okay.
to the time that James actually showed up, if you know about how much of a time frame was that?
I couldn't say exactly, but there was John and Matt that showed up, so I would say probably half hour or so, maybe,
maybe
20,
about
20 minutes, half hour.
So somewhere between maybe 10 after 7 and maybe quarter after 7? If we're using the time frame you're talking about, 6:44.
Yes, that sounds correct.
Okay. Well, when your brother was over, did you have any occasion to hug him or kiss him or embrace him in any way, shape, or manner?
I did hug him when he gave me my charger.
Okay. And so obviously when you hugged him, you were in contact with him, correct?
Yes.
Did you remember seeing any blood at all on him anywhere, from head to toe?
No, not at all.
Did you see any blood on his T-shirt or on his motorcycle?
No.
Did you see any torn clothing or anything that was disarray in that regard?
No.
Did you see if his helmet shield was broken or if it was intact, or if you recall at all?
I
Did you look at it at all before you took it out of the package, or did you just basically immediately rip it?
I just ripped it. I knew what it was.
Okay. And you threw
Yes.
the bowl and everything into the trash? Was there any part of your phone when you were with the police and you were offering them to huddle and look at things that you refused to allow them access to?
No. No, I told them that they could view anything that they wanted in my presence.
So just so that we're clear, you were hesitant about actually physically turning it over to them, but you don't recall any hesitation in terms of allowing them access to look at it, correct?
Judge, I'm going to object. It's been answered like 3 times. He indicated why. He indicated it had to do with marijuana contacts.
That's fine.
You're out and reiterated it.
Mr. Daly's correct.
I have asked him.
Thank you. To the best of your knowledge, does James VanCallis, or did he on July 24, 2014, keep any clothes at your house?
No.
Did he keep an extra pair of shoes?
No.
Extra shirt, extra pants, extra helmet, extra motorcycle?
No, he kept nothing at my house.
To the best of your knowledge, even though if you can't recall how he was attired, did he leave in the same attire that he appeared in?
Yes.
One brief moment, Your Honor, please. Just want to be clear, you said a little OCD, right? Never mind, no more questions. Thank you.
Can I step down?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm all set now.
Mr. VanCallis, how often did you and your fiance go out and do couple things with your brother and Crystal? And I'm talking in the, say, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 months prior to April being killed.
We didn't go anywhere, but if we would go to my parents' house, they would hang out, and then me and my brother would hang out.
And that was like, from what I understand, about a once a month at most type of thing when you do that? Do you recall previously indicating that?
I would say that sounds about right. I mean, it wasn't every month that I would go there, but I would try to visit them.
All right. So you, and I know this was, you were just answering the words were used by Mr. Sheik. You suggesting what might be reasonable for Crystal Stadler to do in terms of talking to your fiance when you guys get together, maybe once a month or less. You really don't know what's reasonable for Crystal Stadler to do you? You don't know.
I couldn't say.
I appreciate the answer. You weren't there to see what was going on in that house on a day-to-day basis, were you? You lived your
what
own
do you
life
mean?
with your fiance, you went to work, you were not out in Goodles on any sort of a regular basis knowing what was going on.
I was there, like I said, I would show up there once in a while, every month or so.
Okay. And how often then did Crystal and Sarah get together without you?
Without me?
Yeah.
I couldn't say. You'd have to ask her that.
What do you know from your fiance telling you?
I never asked my fiance.
Did she ever tell you, hey, guess where I went today?
I guess if I would have asked her, she would have told me.
I'm not saying that you prompt her. I'm saying, did she ever say, like, hey, honey, how was your day? How was your day? What'd you do today? Oh, I went out and I spent some time with Crystal. Did that ever happen to your recollection?
Did she ever come home and say that to me?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Honestly,
But you don't have any memory of it at any rate?
Honestly, no.
All right. You recall when your brother got to your house the night of the 24th, he had a backpack on? You recall that?
I would say probably he did.
And you recall describing it as like a book bag backpack, and that's actually where he pulled the toothbrush thing out of?
Well, that's what a backpack is, I guess, yeah.
Well, there's many kinds of backpacks, right?
Well, isn't it a backpack, though? Like a backpack's a
That's
backpack.
me asking you.
It was a backpack.
I wasn't there.
It was a backpack, I
Good.
guess.
When you say yes, do you know for sure or not?
That if he had one on or not?
Let's start with that.
I would say he probably did have one, because
All right.
I don't know where he would have the toothbrush charger.
And do you remember previously describing it as a dark-colored backpack in the style of a book bag, like a school book bag?
Everything in color's kind of dark in color to me.
Okay, but style-wise, does that sound right?
I would say, yeah, it was like a book bag
Okay.
or a backpack.
Did you search the rest of what was in that backpack that night?
No.
You would have had no reason to, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you recall your brother telling you that he was riding around Armada waiting for you to get home when you did have that phone call between the time you left work and you got home, like, hey, I'm riding around Armada? Do you remember him telling you that?
I don't know exactly what he said, but I could see that's probably what he would do. I don't see him just sitting at my house.
Okay. And the bike that he was riding, you remember when he got that motorcycle?
I remember him getting it, yes.
I'm not asking the date.
Right.
And you remember he changed it over time, from when he bought it to what it looked like on that day?
Yeah, I mean, he changed it almost right away.
And he changed some colors. He got rid of some of the blue on the frame. He got rid of the white on the front fender. He got rid of the white on the front headlight housing. Do you recall those things specifically?
I don't remember exactly what the bike looked like, because he was kind of doing it, you know, in his time. It's not like he was bringing it to my house and doing it. He was doing it at his own house.
But at least you know over time he changed the appearance of the motorcycle.
Yes.
Mr. Sheik asked you about his shoes, and you indicated no man should have that many shoes. In all the questions and answers, today was the first time I'd heard you say he has Jordans.
No.
Do you remember him having Jordans? Because Mr. Sheik asked you about him having Jordans, so you remember him having Jordans, right?
Those could have been the shoes along with shoes that he had, yes.
Okay. I mean, do you remember being asked a lot of questions before about whether or not he had other style shoes or types of shoes? And do you remember ever telling us he had Jordans?
I don't know. At the time, there was a lot going on.
Okay. You remember being asked about his shoes, though, multiple different occasions, right?
I remember getting asked one time when I was in front of you.
You remember us actually asking you several times during that time we were conducting an interview?
I don't remember how many times you asked me. I remember it was brought up.
All right. And you never mentioned Jordans before, but do you remember, is that correct?
That could be right, yes.
Do you remember him having Jordans now? Because I don't want you to just adopt what
I don't know exactly what kind of shoes he had. I know that he had a lot of shoes. He had a lot of shoes.
Well, it was kind of important because you just got asked a minute ago, do you remember him wearing Jordans to the mall and maybe 30 K-Swiss while he rides his motorcycle? And pretty quickly he said, yeah.
Well, he would wear nicer shoes, and I would imagine that Jordans are nicer shoes than K-Swiss.
Well, when you buy them new, how much do Jordans cost and K-Swiss cost?
Jordans cost quite a bit.
What kind of Jordans did he have, do you know?
I don't know. I
Do
don't
you know what color they were?
I just know that Jordans are expensive.
Do you know what color they were?
I couldn't tell you.
Jordans are expensive shoes.
Yes.
Was your brother in the habit of throwing out expensive things just for the heck of it?
I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't imagine.
One last, I guess, question I had, maybe a couple more, and this might jog your memory. You indicated at this point in time you don't remember what sort of pants he had on, correct?
That's correct.
Do you remember previously saying like Army-style pants? Does that sound familiar to you?
I don't remember saying that.
And me suggesting that to you does not jog your memory at all?
No. I think maybe you guys might have said that.
Well,
Nice.
if you said it under oath, might that, I could show you, might that help you?
I did say it. I said that he was wearing camouflage pants.
Well, I'm asking you, do you remember saying
I don't
that?
know. I just said I don't know.
Okay. I'm going to show you your previous testimony, and I want you to look at it. I've shown it to Mr. Sheik, and I want to see if this helps you remember what you testified to previously. Why don't you start, you can read anywhere you want on this page, but this is talking about a face shield, so that's not really as important to me, but why don't you start reading about midway through this page to the bottom, and then flip the page.
I said that I didn't remember about the pants.
I want the jury to hear what you said, because I can hear you, but I don't know if they can. You can flip the page when you're done with that, and then I'm going to ask you a question. I just don't want you to say anything so only I can hear you.
Okay.
You can hold it. So.
Okay. Here, you can take it.
Did looking at that help refresh your memory?
Vaguely, yes.
As to whether or not he was wearing camel pants that day?
Still, I don't know if he was or not.
All right. But you did testify that, at least at this time, you had a memory of him wearing camel pants.
I remember him owning camel pants, yes.
But that's...
I don't remember even saying that, so...
So this
I mean,
did not refresh your memory?
it's in there, so I mean, I might have said that, yes. But I don't remember actually saying that.
And you don't know if your brother would not wear his Jordans while riding his motorcycle?
I would imagine that he would wear boots or something to that effect, or dirty shoes. You don't really want to wear something like that. Those are like basketball shoes.
Do you have any idea what your brother was doing between the time he called you and the time he showed up at your house?
No, I don't.
I don't have anything.
Very briefly, I want to go over a couple of things. First of all, did your brother James know that you would often go to the Tim Hortons out in Romeo?
Yes.
Would he drive by there looking for you sometimes?
I would say he probably would. He would travel around. Yeah.
Have you ever met him there? At that Tim
Yes.
Hortons?
Yes.
And was that, if you recall, was that, well, first of all, did that happen on more than one occasion or several?
Meeting at the Tim Hortons?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say several, but I would say probably more than just a few or a couple.
Okay, and would it always be like pursuant to a prearranged time, or he would just like, you know, he'd know you're going to be there if he saw your car pull up?
I would say mix in between. Sometimes he would pull up and see me.
Okay, just so ladies and gentlemen of the jury are clear, it would not be unusual for him to just pull up, see your car, because he kind of knew that your habit of going there, correct?
Yes.
And then you guys would have coffee and
Yes.
it's nothing off it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, these motorcycle changes that Mr. Daly just asked you about, were they anywhere around July 24, 25, 26, or after that point?
No, I mean, they were like, I almost want to say like a year, almost probably a year and a half, I would say. It was way before.
To the best of your knowledge, did Mr. VanCallis buy that motorcycle used? Or brand new?
Yes, he bought it used.
He bought it used. And then he changed it over time as his budget and time would allow, is that correct?
Yes.
So you certainly didn't see him making any frequent changes around the time of the incident, correct?
No. No, the bike looked how it looked.
You indicated that you have some issues of color blindness, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And now, as far as the Jordans that Mr. Daly asked you about, I brought those up as an example to indicate, correct? You didn't say the word Jordans, did you?
No,
And if he had a pair of Jordans, there's nothing wrong with that, correct?
I wouldn't think so.
Back around this time of 2014, were you smoking a lot of weed on a daily basis or from time to time? I'm sorry?
Daily.
Multiple times in a day or just once in a day?
Pretty much all day.
Okay, and not making excuses, but could that be part of the reason why maybe you weren't exact on times and who came and what? Because this was not of significance at the time, right?
I just didn't think to keep track of time.
Just 1 second. Thank you, Mr. VanCallis.
I have no regret. Thank you, Judge.
You are now excused, thank you.
Thank you.
Take a break.
Can you have a garbage can up here?